all profit is value extraction. And that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we've got to get them off welfare.
The last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary, and you're going to have to keep on saying that.
Hello, and welcome to Cars and Comrades, your onlyest socialist car podcast. I'm Brandon, the head of Cars and Comrades HR. We're running a little bit late this evening because Connor and Bryant got a reprimand for being late, and Zach was a no-call, no-show tonight. So if we're now accepting applications for possible replacements, since I may have to be firing everyone on the show.
I'm really sorry it won't happen again.
I've never gotten a write-up before, so this is really a first for me. I really would like to keep my job that doesn't pay anything on the show. That would be great.
I have gotten an astounding amount of write-ups in my life.
I've had plenty of people tell me, hey, don't do that, but I've never had a formal write-up.
I'm going to be honest with you. I am fucking late to every job I have ever worked, and I've never gotten a write-up. Like, I've gotten some talking tos, but I've never gotten a write-up for it. I think that's mostly because, I don't know, I bullshitted my way through it or something, or I was just under the wire. But yeah, I've been late to every single job I've ever worked, and I try not to be, but apparently I'm even late to this show. So
now that we're doing an actual analysis, you know what I'm realizing? I've never gotten a write-up at like a trade job, but any sort of like minimum wage job, I've had them just fucking thrown at me. And I think that actually really says a lot about the level of control they want to exert over somebody who barely makes enough to live.
Oh, it's way worse. It's not even close. It is way worse, and they do it on fucking purpose. So like this joke is applicable to a certain number of our listeners who are working like the lower wage jobs, but like you get into like the other more quote unquote professional sorts of jobs, and it ain't the same. There's no write-ups. It's just different. It's horse shit.
Yeah, I mean, the job I'm working now, it's... Sorry, what?
I was going to say, there should be no more of these fucking low-wage jobs. All jobs are skilled labor. Like, this is bullshit.
I got a write-up for missing too much work at a warehouse one time. Every single like instance that they were calling out, I had requested off and been approved for. They just weren't keeping track of how much it was. And it was like an average of once a month because I was going to a lot of shows out of town back then.
That's a lot? That's not a lot. That is absolutely not a lot.
Pretty normal, I thought.
The fuck?
Because it was 7 days in 6 months because they were like, you've only been here 6 months and you've already missed 7 days of work. And I'm like, are you like praising that I've only missed 7 days of? I don't understand what's going on here. Actually, if you want to hear a real boss move, I got bitched out for that and written up, and they were like, "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm actually not going to be here the week after next."
Oh my god!
It wasn't even a bit. I actually had like it.
I've been meaning to ask you actually.
It wasn't even ask. It was a medical thing. Well, it was a quote unquote medical thing, so they couldn't even fucking say no.
Oh man,
I was doing a medical study that was like going to make me a whole bunch of money in 1 week, so there was no fucking way I was coming to work.
Yeah, look, I know it's sometimes useless to be like, we need revolution now because we just don't have the conditions to have a revolution tomorrow. But I hear a story like this, and my first thought is just like, let's pick up the ballots. Come on, ballots immediately. What? How is not everyone on our side?
I'm just proud of myself for how petty I could be back when I was like 25.
Oh man, that's fucking crazy. 7 days and 6 months. That's nothing. Oh, I hate these people. Anyway, sorry.
Every one of them was pre-approved.
What the fuck? Fun.
A few weeks later, I demanded that they double my wage.
That's a alpha Chad move right there.
Did you get it?
Honestly, I was such a prick at that job looking back. Because like my boss got sick and he was the only other one there that could do my job. So I was just like, well, y'all, looks like y'all have to pay me twice as much now. They were like, I got a several dollar an hour raise and then I got fired a week later.
Nice.
Oh, all right. Well, that's maybe not the best story there, but
well, I got fired for trying
raise.
to coach. I got fired for trying to coach one of my coworkers to do the same thing. And, and instead of him doing the same thing, he just went to the boss and was just like, "Y'all gave him a raise. Why couldn't you give me one?" And so their technical reason for firing me was discussing my wages with coworkers.
Which that's totally legal.
Which is illegal. Yes.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to fight that hard to continue making like no money and traveling an exorbitant amount of time every day.
Yeah.
God damn them. God, again, fucking we need the ballot, and Bryant probably needs to redact this, but
I was going to say I'm going to have to bleep a certain word there, I think.
Yeah, we need the ballots. Just replace it with we need to pick up the ballots.
I'll just cut and paste that in there.
Is this
More
the
votes.
quickest the show has ever gone off the rails, or just like up there?
I mean, we kind of started with a little off the rails segment there, but
yeah, that's fair.
I guess for the listener, ostensibly today we're going to be talking about the experimental safety vehicle program of the 1970s. This is kind of something that came out of my research into Ralph Nader and Unsafe at Any Speed. It's something that he talked about in the book, and I was going to do two subjects on this episode and talk a little bit biographically about Ralph Nader and some of the stuff he's done, but then I went down this internet rabbit hole reading about weird concept cars in the 70s. So
Ralph Nader, who we should note has not responded to our request to come on the show
because I haven't made one yet.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait, did that happen?
I thought you said you contacted him.
No, I haven't yet.
Well, no wonder he won't get back to us.
We should shoot our shot.
Yeah,
he's notoriously not telepathic.
I know. But yeah, so I have like 3.5 pages of notes on ESVs, and we'll see how much of it we can get through today. But first, we're gonna talk about our what we've been doing on our own cars, making them more safe or less safe, as the case may be. And
almost always less safe. But
yeah, I've never made a car more safe.
And I'm gonna say it's Connor's turn this time.
Oh, okay. So instead of being responsible, I've been irresponsible. So like I've had a headlight out. I think I've mentioned it on the show probably twice now. So I think it's been weeks and I've got a headlight out, and every time I've had I've had a choice. Like I have enough time to fix the headlight, or I could go drifting. I have chosen to go drifting every single time so far. Now that could change any day, but so far I have chosen drifting every single time. So I did actually get another chance since we last recorded to go to another drift day, which I wasn't expecting. But I guess because it's getting cold, they're like, hey, we're not doing Tuesdays and Fridays anymore. I guess we're going to have to switch to Saturdays during the day. And I was like, fuck yes. Oh my God, this is so much better than getting there on a Friday night. So, of course, because of the stupid ass second job, I work every other Saturday. So I don't get to go like every time, but I did get to go last weekend, which was pretty sweet. It turns out I still suck, but I'm getting seat time and I'm getting better. Like I was taking better lines and stuff, but I was still spinning a lot. And I was having some serious issues with understeer at this last event. Like, I think it was partially because, like, I started airing, especially, like, at first I went out and I was doing fine, and then the rear tires heat up as you, like, drift on them. And so they, like, the tire pressure increases as you drift. So I started airing down my rear tires, because the last time I think I said it on the show, I wasn't so much lacking power as I was having almost a hard time putting the power down. So like I was like, oh, I'm going to air out my tires this time, which I did. But then I think that gave me too much grip in the rear, and I shouldn't even say too much, but like I then was losing grip at the front because I wasn't airing down my fronts. So like I got more grip in the rear, then I started understeering really bad, which was like, I mean, to me, that's like the scariest shit. Spin out is nothing, but like when you understeer, it's like, ooh, who knows what the car's going to do. But like I was like, turn the wheel all the way and the car just keeps going straight. And I was like, fuck. So I was trying to get a handle on that, and I should have aired down the fronts. I like realized it, of course, by like the last run. I'm like, oh, I should like lower the air in my fronts. And I'm like, well, it's time to start packing up. So I guess I'll do it next time. But I also realized that the wheel spacers I've been running have been a good... They've kind of fixed some issues where it's like, obviously I'm not rubbing on my tie rods anymore. So that's like good. The bad part is it seems like it is causing some like steering binding issues. So like when I go full lock, like there were times where I'm drifting and I feel like a bump, and then all of a sudden the steering wheel turns more, and I was like, that seems bad.
Yeah.
So it's not great. Now look, I felt that and I kept drifting because I'm like, well, it's not broken now, so I'm gonna get this seat time one way or another. But like it kind of sucks that like I feel like, okay, I'm getting the hang of it again. It's like I'm feeling good. Like every run was like I feel really good for parts of the run, and I'm like, oh, now I'm getting the feel of it back. Like I'm getting to like, oh yeah, this is how I change my angle. This is how I do this. But then like at some point, like then I'll understeer, or the car will spin, or like I'll feel that binding issue in the steering, and like I'm just like, fuck. So it's like it feels like I'm getting better, but then like I'll have a moment where it's like, ooh, but I fucked that up. And I smacked a couple cones too, which I try not to do. But like I also don't care that much. But all in all, it was fun. It was really cold, which was kind of a bummer because like it was like 75 degrees 2 days earlier, and then I went to the event and it was like 40. I was like, well, and snowy. There was actually snow falling as we were drifting, so that was interesting. But yeah, I don't know. So instead of fixing shit on the car, I just went and fucking sent it, and I had fun. It wasn't, perfect, but the way I look at it, I'm getting more seat time now, so that I'm like better prepared for like next season, and I'm not like learning from scratch again when the car's like working properly. So yeah, did all that, and then quick note while we're on my personal shit, because I'm working at fucking AutoZone. Worth mentioning, if you can get a battery at one of the other auto parts stores, I would recommend doing that. So like most of the time the battery doesn't make a big difference, but like in my experience, I worked at O'Reilly's and their batteries seemed fine. I have an O'Reilly's battery in my car now, and I've had it since at least 2018. So it's what year is it now? 2022? Yeah, it's held up pretty decent, and no signs of like being an issue. The Duralast batteries are questionable in my opinion, and I have some evidence to back this up. In the first, like, I've been working at AutoZone for a couple months, and I have seen like 3 or 4 like brand new ass fucking batteries, or like 6 months old, come back as fucking bad batteries. So like I don't think I ever had that happen at O'Reilly's. I don't think once. Like I remember like taking a few back, and I was like looking around like, this like normal for y'all? Like this shit was installed in like April. What the fuck? And you test it and it comes out bad. So that's not fucking good. Then I also heard a conversation from the store manager who was talking about something the district manager said, and it was her kind of just admitting like, yeah, we don't have the best batteries. Like we're not super competitive on those. So just saying, they fucking know they're not the best. And if I were you, I would buy not a Duralast battery. So throwing it out there just for the record. If you're listening to our show, I guess I'll give you inside tips on the parts business here and there. most of them you should take with a grain of salt. But yeah, maybe find a different auto parts store for your battery. So, and then sorry, I'm gonna keep adding to it. It was super fun. Friday it snowed in Chicago, and I was like working in the field that day. So I took my car instead of my girlfriend's car, and I took my car. I was like, yeah, it's fine. There's no snow by me. So then I drove to the city, go to do my work, and I get to a part where there is literally like definitely a couple inches of fucking snow had fallen, and there were streets that were not plowed. And it was not a fun time for me, actually. It was a lot of hard packed snow and like icy fucking streets, and I do not have my winter tires on yet. So I got through. I didn't crash, but yeah, it was pretty fucking sketchy. I was like, this is terrifying for me. So I don't know. I don't want to put the winter tires on just because it's a pain in the ass. I still want to run one more drift event, but I don't know. I may cave and put those on really soon. So we'll see what happens there. But that's all I got. It's a lot, so that's more than enough. But I did drifting instead of doing responsible things like fixing my car.
Yeah. No, that's legit.
I have that same story for this week.
Great. So then I guess that would be I don't know what order we're going in, but Bryant maybe? Yeah, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't done a whole lot because my back has still been hurting me. I did manage to finally change the brakes on my Subaru, so that is stopping a lot better than it was. No wobbling front calipers or anything.
Sweet.
And let's see, I do have my snow tires on there, but I need to get the new ones that aren't old and falling apart. And then, like I said, I haven't been working on my cars too much, but I do need to do some work on my washing machine, which has a bad seal and a bad bearing. So I'm hoping that some of the skills I have wrenching on cars will translate to taking that apart and replacing a bearing.
It usually does, but make sure you consult YouTube on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
I find that one has no bearing on the other.
But yeah, that's about all I've been up to. Oh, and I did when it snowed here the other day, I went and did some donuts in a parking lot at 11 p.m. That was pretty nice.
Legally, I think you're required to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Which, by the way, I mean, for anyone who's curious, if you're looking to learn some drifting, finding a good open space with snow, I know it's not perfect, but it's really cool to learn the basics when you're going really slowly and everything is like super accentuated. So it is actually genuinely good practice. And you should learn that even if you don't want to drift. Like, you should learn how it feels when the car slides, just for knowing how to drive in the snow. So
yeah, definitely. And make sure you know where all the like light poles and curbs and everything are, so you don't run into those.
Yeah, do not lose track of those. But it's good practice. It really, like, to be a safe driver, you should go and do donuts in a parking lot at some point. It's counterintuitive, but just saying, it's worth knowing how it feels.
Yeah, just make sure there's no cops around.
Yeah, make sure you're avoiding the pigs.
But that's all I got. Brandon, what have you been up to?
I've actually had a pretty mild couple of weeks, but
oh, thank God. I know you've had a few rough ones lately, so.
Well, I meant in terms of fixing things. It gets a lot worse when we start talking about the things I've broken.
Oh no. Okay, great.
No, so I've been driving my Chevy instead of my Ford, my newer Chevy, the 75, because as it gets into winter, I don't want the salt up here to destroy the Ford, and I still haven't fixed all of the bodywork that needs fixed. So I am just kind of letting it rest. That, and I put a new carburetor on it like months ago and never hooked up the chokes, and now it's like 20 degrees in the morning and it won't start. Which I could easily do by running a single wire to the choke, but I haven't done that yet. But one day I was reading one of my carburetor books, and I said, damn it, today is the day that I fix the carburetor on my Chevy. Because it has a couple of like fairly common to carburetor problems, like a little bit of a bog on acceleration and a handful of odd things. And so I start like reading specifically and like doing an inventory of what all parts that I've got. And because I just can't focus on anything ever, I had been driving with one headlight for weeks, months. So I went ahead and swapped that out because I was just at my shop doing stuff. I was feeling motivated. Immediately, while doing all of this like research on fixing my carburetor, I realized that I do not have right turn signals. The right turn signal light in my dash is now staying on, and I don't have brake lights.
Woo!
And realistically, I probably hadn't had brake lights in weeks, and I just didn't pay attention. But when I went to check it, they were gone, and I'm like, you know what? I'm anyone behind me can fuck off. I'm not dealing with this problem right now. And I was talking to a buddy, and he was just like, yeah, the light will stay on in the dash sometimes when the bulb blows, and it'll fuck up the circuit. And sure enough, I looked, and the bulb was blown, and fixed the whole problem except for the brake light thing. And I was like, well, if I've got all my turn signals, fuck brake lights. I'm not going fast enough and my brakes aren't good enough that anyone behind me is going to have a problem. But then just getting in my van, I noticed a loose wire, and not even like pulled out of the housing, but just pulled a little bit loose. And I pushed it back in, and my brake lights work. So much stuff got fixed by happenstance the past week.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good week.
But so I took it's actually kind of hard to get to the carburetor in one of these vans because you can't get to it through the hood. You have to pull the doghouse inside the cab. So like it's not the worst, but when you're like messing with it and you're pulling it on and off all day or over the weekend, it's annoying. But I found what was almost definitely the problem, and it was not even like with my carburetor. It wasn't even that it was like that. There was somebody had tightened a bolt that you're not supposed to tighten, and without like I'm assuming you guys don't know much about carburetors.
A tiny bit. I mean,
yeah,
my moped
bit.
was carbureted.
Fair enough. I'm talking about Holly carburetors. So basically, there's something called an accelerator pump.
Yeah.
And so what it does is it squirts fuel right when you're opening the throttle so that it prevents a lane condition and bogging down and stuff. And somebody had somehow adjusted mine so that it was coming on immediately, but very lightly, and only for half as long as it was supposed to.
Huh.
Like there's a complicated mechanisms of like a plastic cam and some levers and stuff like that like transfer the motion from the accelerator, from the throttle cable to the actual accelerator pump. But once I realized that they had like tightened it down so that it was basically always halfway engaged, so that it only had the last half of the cam to actually engage. I'm really like not sure the best way to explain this, but the gist of it is it ultimately boiled down to I just had to back this screw off so that it was barely engaged so that it would be able to go its full range of motion. But upon doing that is when I realized that probably from the over tightening and just driving it like that for years, the gasket for the accelerator pump is probably damaged because I just am running without an accelerator pump at all right now. So I got the parts ordered, and I'm actually hoping to fix that tomorrow. I was going to do it today, but it was 20 degrees, and my van does not run well without an accelerator pump in this weather, but it does run. So I've just mostly I don't know about you guys. I am really hesitant to like do not incredibly necessary work to my daily driver because I'm like, no, there's too much of a chance that this becomes a 3-day job, and then I have to figure out getting to work the next day.
No, that's my fucking existence. That's 100%. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to touch it. I don't want to open up nothing. Because again, it's my daily driver. If I fuck a bolt doesn't come out right, it's like, okay, well, great, I'm gonna go buy a rental car for several days, like, and then I'm stuck working after work on the car. No, it's I am reticent to do any unnecessary work on the car if I can avoid it.
So yeah, that was last weekend. Most of that was, and then I was at a job site on Tuesday, and leaving the job site, there was a really weird bump in the road. Like, I drove over it multiple times and felt it every time, but because of the way it's a brick road through a turn, you can barely tell that there's a dip there. Anyway, it makes a god-awful, like, ka-chunk noise, and I was certain that something on my van had broken, but it drove fine and whatever. But I got home. Yeah, if everything drives normally, then it's not broken and you're good.
That's what, I'm always like, I hit, or you do something, you're just like, and for 5 seconds, if everything's fine, you're like, all right, I guess it was fine. Something might be minorly broken, but the car's working, so I'm going to throw it out of my mind, turn the music up, whatever.
I got home, and so I will say my Chevy, the body is in rough shape because it's been my daily for years. It's old, and we salt the roads here, so it just eats through sheet metal. And I've watched it get worse and worse, and I feel bad about it, but it's just like
just
literally
reality.
like,
what are you gonna do,
dude? There's rust in like the middle of like the body in some spots where the paint cracked, and then rust just started going from there. But my rockers were so bad that when I hit the bump, it crumbled. My entire rocker, 3/4 of the way from one wheel to the other, is gone.
Oh, god damn, that's really bad.
Inner rocker.
So that was just paint. That wasn't even sheet metal anymore. That was just like a layer of paint, on dust that just couldn't be disturbed.
So I will say that this is going to sound like the story of my Ford, but is actually the story of my Chevy. When I bought it, the previous owner was 100% transparent with me. That's how it's different than the Ford. That the body had started having some rusty spots, and he didn't know what to do about it. He was a younger guy, like early 20s, and he just wanted the van to look nicer. So he was like, yeah, I just smeared Bondo over it. He's like, there was a hole, and I put a piece of tin over it and just covered it in Bondo.
Okay, so you were warned.
I was warned. I can see where it's at, like all this, but because the Bondo was there and continued to be Bondo colored, I really didn't think that much about it. And it didn't occur to me that layer of Bondo was holding the entire structure together.
Not great.
And it was really disheartening.
Yeah.
But, and the most annoying part is, like, I can order the rocker panel, but the inner rocker I have to make. And it's not even difficult. I just have to go get sheet metal for it, and I don't.
Do you know look? I'm always wondering, why is it like it's easy to get outer rockers, but you can't find fucking inner rockers for a lot of shit? Like, that's a really hard thing. Like, they don't sell it. And I'm like, there's enough of these old cars on the road that people restore. Like, why is that so hard to find? I don't
My assumption would be that basically an inner rocker on something like this or a handful of other vehicles I've worked on is just a piece of sheet metal with a right angle bend in it. Sometimes they'll have like something like pressed or rolled into it to provide like rigidity for the structure of the sheet metal, but there's not a lot of contour to it.
Okay.
I was joking with my buddy that I'm using 1/8-inch plate so I never have to do it again.
Look, jokes aside, that's how I fix shit. When I fix something, I'm like, yo, this is a real pain in the ass. I really do not want to do it again. I will pay lots of money to not ever have to do shit again, which is why it's like, oh, you know what? I got an oil leak. Time to rebuild the engine. Oh, I blew up the rear end. Time to put in the best rear end ever made. Oh, my transmission was a little rough shifting. Swap in a new transmission.
And my attitude up until recently, I was, I didn't have a whole lot of money, and I was like, oh, I need snow tires. I'm going to buy this set for like $150 off of Facebook Marketplace. And I know that they're old and cracked and shitty, but they still have tread on them. So, but yeah, now I'm coming around to your mode of thinking, Connor, on that. Just spend the money.
It sucks at first, but I like to not have these problems again. I'm just like, nope, fix it. really right the first time because I've done the other way too many times where I'm just like, okay, nope, I don't want to fuck with this anymore.
No, that's fucking real, man. Like, I definitely am coming around to that way of thinking. Just spend the extra money. Like, I mean, I'm still gonna fix stuff myself and take shortcuts, but there's smart ways to take shortcuts and there's dumb ways, and I'm just over the dumb ways.
Yeah.
Like, I'll still pull a rear end out of a junkyard, but I'm going to tear it down and make sure that all the gears are good, all the bearings are good. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like you'll still get the junkyard rear end, but like also clean it up, take it down, repaint it, like do all that shit, and like make sure there's new bearings and stuff in there, like. And then if you want to have some fun, like you can weld that rear end together. You know what I'm saying? Like have a good time.
if I pull it from a junkyard, I'm making sure it's something that I can find a posi unit for.
Oh,
Yeah,
like
there
I'm
you
saying, you don't need a posi unit. If a posi unit's too expensive,
I know
just
what a
weld them
Lincoln
spider
locker is.
gears.
I hate chirping tires just turning left.
It's fun. What do you mean?
I'm driving a work van.
Get that? Yeah, you can get that thing sideways when you weld them gears together. All right,
Oh,
I'm
dude,
done.
in my old van that actually had more, like, it had a torqueier motor low end, so I could break the tires free, like, no problem, and I would drift through turns like crazy, like, dangerously so. I did not know what I was doing. It was not the vehicle to be doing that with, but I would absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I'm going to try and hopefully by the next time we record, I will have done an extensive amount of work on my Chevys because there's a lot of stuff I can slack off on because I just get to it when I get to it. But this is in bad shape.
Yeesh.
The good news is that because this is why I love Chevy vans legitimately, because this van was made from, the body style went from 71 to 96.
What?
Cool.
What?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
95, 96. Chevy stopped making them in 95, but there were still some aftermarket companies who were buying the vans and releasing them in 96.
Okay, what van is this now?
G10.
The G10.
G series vans, G10, G20, G30, whatever. But because of that, I ordered a new fender, I forget what you would like, just the part of sheet metal that goes around the rear wheel, not like a front fender or whatever. The rocker panel and the rockers underneath both doors, and shipped. It was $156.
Not bad at all.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wow.
For my Ford or my early Chevys, one piece of sheet metal is more than that.
Holy
So-
shit. I'm sorry, hold on. I've got to interrupt you real quick. I had to look this up. The Chevy Van G series. So it's produced across 3 generations. The first one's 1964 to 1966, so 2 years.
Yeah,
or
have two
3.
of those.
1967 to 1970, so 3 years. And then the third generation is 1970 to 1996.
That's incorrect. They came out in 71.
Okay, well, still. Holy Christ. That is, wow. All right. Anyway, sorry. That is a very long run for a body style. That's fucking crazy.
It's dude, I cannot say and so little changed. They changed the grill style. They had 3 different styles of grill, and the body changed in the slightest ways imaginable. Like, they added a body line in 78, and in 78 they also changed the wheel arch, the front half of the wheel arch on the front wheels. So you need like a
now that
That's
I'm seeing pictures of these, like they really are way more similar than I thought they were. I'm like, no, there's no way they were that long, but like, yeah, that was the same fucking van for 20 plus years. Nice.
That reminds me, I think it was one of the episodes on Unsafe at Any Speed. I was talking about how, like, in the 60s, Chevy had the shift pattern that was like a PNDLR instead of the normal one. I didn't know this, but do you know how late they kept using that shift pattern on some of their cars?
no.
To the
Until
80s?
1980. Like, they knew it was a problem and they just kept doing it for decades.
Yeah, I think you alluded to the fact that they did continue doing it even though they knew it was bad.
Yeah.
Spiritually, I am Chevy. It's because they're basically saying, like, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. I was watching a video the other day about the development of the Fiero, and that sounds a lot like GM.
I don't know much about the development of the Fiero, but I know that there's still supposedly exists one that has the Smoky Unix hot vapor engine installed into it and just makes crazy power and gets good fuel economy.
Yeah. Well, I think the prototype, or there was like some trim level that was designed to get 50 miles per gallon highway. Well, it had like the tallest gearing and the smallest engine or whatever. But and it was basically just to get their cafe numbers up, kind of like how modern companies use electric cars to, offset all of their gas guzzling pickups and stuff.
I think it's super awesome that they're able to do that. I love it.
Yeah.
I just love that it's like, okay, cool. We're just like leaning right into, oh, if we do this, we could do more of the worst thing. And you're like, oh my God, why is this happening?
I mean, again, that is sort of my approach to life when I'm like in my shop or something. Like, if I just do this, then I can get away with doing the worst job ever. But I'm also not a multinational company that's destroying the world.
Yeah.
I'm just a single man, and I am trying to only destroy the Western world.
It's it's not much, but it's honest work or whatever. Well, you guys want to talk about some safety vehicles, or should we take a quick break?
Quick break would be great for me. I've been, again, continuing on the coffee and the beer, and it is...
All right.
Don't get clogged up this time.
I'm going to try not to get clogged up this time.
All right. All right, we're back and we're talking about the Experimental Safety Vehicle Program of the 1970s, which was a federal program to look into safety and how cars could be safer. And it was kind of spurred on by the safety movement, started in part by Ralph Nader. But before all of that, there were a few lone wolves just trying to go at their own and make a safety vehicle without any federal funding. And
for that, we will never forgive them.
So there's a couple that I wanted to talk about here. Like I said, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So in 1952, there is a priest by the name of Father Alfred Giuliano, a Catholic priest in Ridgefield, Pennsylvania. So this priest, he as a teenager, he wanted to be a car designer, but ultimately, decided to go into the priesthood. But
that's a hell of a backup plan.
Yeah.
But he kept that dream alive, and in 1952, he decided to make a prototype safety car called the Aurora. And he took out some loans, and he spent his savings, and he also took some donations from his parishioners.
Yeah, I'm glad you left that part in, because at first I thought you were going to skip that. I was like, no, this motherfucker took donations to the church. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah. Good old rugged individual with no help from the government.
Help from the government and your parishioners.
Yeah.
Pass around that collection bucket. I gotta make some money.
God, what was it called when a priest would sell absolution or whatever?
Oh, indulgences.
Yeah, I just imagine that he's like, listen, I'm not going to tell your wife what you've been doing, but it's going to cost you a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He was smart enough to build a car. He was definitely smart enough to install recording devices in the confessional.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I can tell, this guy was honest and above board, but maybe just a little bit more ambitious than he had any right to be.
Yeah, I mean, he was honest and a decent guy, except for the like taking money from the parishioners to do this.
Right.
I don't think that could ever be honest.
Yeah.
This would be so fun to make a gritty biopic about him.
But so he started in 1952, and then in 1953 he got the chassis from a 53 Buick, and he started building a wood and fiberglass body on top with shatterproof.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
So he bought a brand new Buick and said, "Fuck this car," and just took the chassis.
Yeah. Because, that steel body would just rust too much, so he had to build it out of wood and fiberglass, which, primo durable materials. And he had...
I mean, I have no problem with fiberglass, but the wood seems like an interesting choice.
Yeah. And there's pictures out there of some of the construction or the restoration later on where you can see the wooden structure, and it's an interesting look, I'll say that much.
I'll say that I can't remember how it compares to a lot of other things, but wood does have a surprising strength to weight ratio.
Yeah, I mean, they still build boats out of wood and fiberglass, so it does make sense in some cases. And also, Morgan cars have wood and aluminum bodies. I forget exactly why they do that, other than maybe it's easier to make a one-off or a small volume production line with wood rather than metal. So the Aurora car had shatterproof plastic windows and light coverings instead of glass.
Sweet.
It featured seat belts, a roll cage, which I think that's being a little bit generous. It had a metal frame over the top of it. So,
I mean, that's something.
Yeah. Supposedly shock absorbing body color bumpers, padded dashboard, crumple zones, and a telescopic steering wheel.
All very good.
And so instead of having shoulder belts, because those hadn't been invented yet, he had just the windshield sort of sloped away from the driver in sort of like a bulbous shape, so that you couldn't hit your head on the windshield.
So it was almost like a bubble window, but for the whole windshield.
Yeah, I mean, you can see pictures of it. It's very strange looking. This is kind of one of the reasons why people would call it the world's ugliest car. It gets put on a lot of those lists.
Okay, that is quite a claim. I would like. Do you have a link to the picture by chance?
There's a link I put in the chat that's got some pictures in there.
Okay, I just looked this up. It looks like the taxi from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Kind of, yeah. It looks a little bit like it's got stung by a bee in the lip or something. It also had a feature which I'm not sure was actually fully built or just proposed, where the front seats would swivel backwards if there was an accident. I can't imagine that actually ever working.
Yeah, that'd have to be real fucking fast.
Yeah. And, the whole outside, it didn't have any sharp edges or pointy objects poking out or anything. So it was meant to be safe for pedestrians also. And the front end, the grill was kind of recessed with this big sort of scoop in the front. Sort of it was meant like a cow catcher to sort of pick up pedestrians and kind of just hold them and cuddle them in the front.
I'm surprised there aren't cushions on it.
Yeah.
The problem with that, I think actually, I don't think it's the ugliest car ever. I feel like there are uglier cars out there.
Yes, we've all seen Lexuses before.
But I don't know. I feel like that that lip on the bottom probably great for breaking the shins of pedestrians. I feel like it's meant to shatter the fucking shins, and then as soon as they collapse in onto the car, they will then break their hip on the fucking hood. This actually seems incredibly dangerous for pedestrians. Maybe maybe their engineers came up with something different, but this looks.
When you say
not
their
the best.
engineers, you mean that one priest?
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much just him doing this.
It's like, and then when this lower bumper guard thing hits them in the shins, God will save them.
You got to put little reservoirs of holy water, that's kind of scored out in an accident.
That way, at least then they maybe go to heaven. Oh my God.
We've constructed this Buick entirely from rosaries.
So the prototype ended up costing him and his parishioners $30,000, which in today's money is around $337,000.
Yeah, I was about to say it's between like 200,000 and 300,000, so it's actually more than I thought.
Yeah, but Giuliano figured that he could probably sell the production version for about $12,000 each, which is still $135K today.
Yeah, that's an expensive ass fucking car.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they're being very uncharitable when they say this is the ugliest car. I not only do I not think it's that ugly, it's got a certain look to it. I feel like the second generation might have looked actually kind of decent. So
I don't actually hate this car.
Yeah, it's definitely goofy. I don't know if it's as terrible as people might say.
Personally,
You know what?
I
I
would
think-
remove all safety features. I would slam it so that it laid frame.
Damn, hold on. Now I'm starting to feel like, hold on. If those wheels like came out to like actually good fitment, so they weren't like so fucking recessed, this actually would be a decent looking car.
Yeah.
I would like to build this car actually. You know what?
Okay.
Fuck it.
Hear me out. We don't change anything about the car except we put those crazy like shin shredders that are only legal in Texas for hubcaps.
Yeah. Like
Yes.
the slab car things, the slangers or whatever they're called.
I always forget what it's called, but it's like a spoked rim that has like something that might as well be blades and razors and shit on the end of it.
Yeah, we talked about it in some episode way back.
Yeah, it's for making shin puree.
That would be fucking perfect. Oh my God, I love it. And this is two-tone, by the way. Like, look, the listener should probably click whatever link we put in the show notes to like look at pictures. But I'm in case you are too lazy to do that. This thing is fucking two-tone, and it is a very cool two-tone. A lot of possibilities here. This one's silver and black, but like you could really play around with it, and you could do like various colors of beige or something, right? Like if you've seen the old 240s, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of potential here. I am for this car. This priest actually was he was onto something. Except for the pedestrian stuff, this was definitely a dangerous vehicle for pedestrians.
That's what I'm saying. Add the shin shredders. Make it so that it's only safe for if you're inside the car.
Yeah.
Just cover this thing in 3-foot long spikes. Some like random propeller blades all over it.
This is a little off topic, but you guys see that YouTube channel called I Did a Thing?
No.
It's this Australian guy that builds like random projects, and one of the things he did lately was like make metal shells for hermit crabs with like spikes on them.
Yes, I love it. Oh my God, what?
But yeah, no, he's pretty cool. His friend's channel, Boy, they do like more like political stuff. Like they went to North Korea, stuff like that. But
so they're cool. So they're actually cool too.
Oh yeah. No, he's got like a big what is it, 26 de Julio or whatever the
26th of July movement.
Yeah. He's got one of those flags behind him.
Fucking awesome.
But
okay, I can't find anything. Do we know what motor is in this?
Whatever was in a 53 Buick, I'm not sure.
Oh, I think that's a nailhead.
You might be right. I thought it was a straight 6 of some kind.
Oh, you know what? It would probably depend on the options.
Yeah.
But I think nailheads started in the early to mid 50s.
You might be right. I don't remember.
So potentially in the engineering of this car, they're like, oh, we're not going to like reduce the horsepower or anything. We're going to make sure it's just as fast, but we're going to make it safer.
Yeah, I don't think he touched the mechanical stuff at all, really.
Nailheads were like 200 horsepower motors. But 500 pound-feet of torque.
But yeah, so he did get the car featured in Mechanics Illustrated magazine, but he did not receive any orders to buy one.
Get the fuck out.
Zero orders.
So like it was for sale. It wasn't just a concept. Like this was for sale, and not one person. There were millions of people in this country. Not one said this is cool.
I guess not. Yeah,
this country is fucking hopeless. It's always been hopeless too, apparently.
Yeah.
If I had,
it's just interesting to find out all of the new ways that it was always hopeless.
Yeah, they were wrong. This car is cool as fuck. Cool as fuck. I'm with it. I wish this thing had a chance.
At least one person agreed with you, but first I have to say that the company went bankrupt, and the founder, Father Giuliano, was investigated for fraud.
That sounds about right.
And then the car sat for a long time until 1993, when British automotive artist Andy Saunders, tracked it down to a field in Connecticut and had it shipped to the UK for restoration. And so it's fully restored now. He had it at the 2004 Goodwood Festival of Speed, and now it's at the Beaulieu, I think is how you pronounce that, Motor Museum in Hampshire. Beaulieu.
It's British.
Well, it's French. It's a French word. I don't know, but yeah,
leave it to the British to even steal their words.
Yeah, it's probably someone whose family came over in 1066 and took over.
Look, I'm just saying, this is a prime example of why we need to get off of this "the market will decide" bullshit, because the market is fucking wrong frequently. That is like a thesis of this show, but here's a perfect example. The market was fucking wrong. Not one person? Really?
So
Fuck these people.
In 1953, if you were the commissar for automotive production, you would give this guy a contract.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
I will say that
hold on. I gotta say, all right, I know the Soviet Union was like looking at everything that was happening in the U.S. in the 50s, and nobody in the Soviet Union was like, hey, this car is pretty cool. We should and he's not getting any orders for this. We should have this shit over here or steal it or something. Guys, real missed opportunity. This could have been socialist car history right here.
Yeah.
I would prefer thinking that they're just over there, this car is made by a Catholic. How can we get him to the gulags?
But we got to keep the car, though, at the very least. I mean, this car is cool.
Well, so I got one more car in the 50s that was just one lone wingnut, building his own thing. And that wingnut was named Walter Jerome. He was a teacher at the Worcester Boys Trade School.
Worcester. It's Worcester.
Isn't that what I said?
You said Worcester.
Well, it's spelled Worcester.
Yeah.
So fucking who cares? God damn it.
I have a friend from Worcester, and I know now it's Worcester, even though it's spelled Worcester.
Actually, I think it's Worcester.
Yeah.
No. Don't let someone like that hear you, because that's a Bostonian accent, and in Worcester they do not have a Boston accent.
So they say, but I hear
they have sort of an East Coast accent, but it is distinctly different from the Boston accent.
I still don't care.
And yeah, it's Worcester. So we should just call it Worcester at this point.
No, I don't care.
Just go way wrong. It's Worcestershire.
Yeah. Anyways, so wherever this place is in Massachusetts,
Worcestershire.
Yeah. In 1958, he finished his prototype safety car called the Survival. So, Sir like a knight, and survival.
Oh my god! All right, great.
Now is Vival? What is the origin of that name? I don't see any obvious joke here, so.
So this was he actually spent 10 years working on this, and it was based on a 1948 Hudson. But he cut it in half and had the engine and the front wheels and everything in one sort of pod, and then the passenger and the driver and everything in the rear, and they were connected with like a flexible joint in the middle that was your
All right.
steering.
Seems terrible.
Yeah.
I'm against this so far.
And the idea behind this was, if you were in a collision, it would bend in the middle rather than, and sort of like absorb the shock. And, maybe it would break in half, but then you'd be safe in the rear. So it was like having a little escape pod for your car, I guess.
Sure. Okay. We'll see how that works out, maybe.
But the driver also sat elevated about 3 feet above the other rear passengers.
What the fuck? What? How is it even
had
possible? How tall is this car? What? What is it? A skyscraper driving down the road? What?
Well, he had kind of like a cupola, sort of like a little turret that he sat in above everygetting.
Okay.
Wait, so is the driver's seat in the center?
Yeah, it's in the center. So I posted another link for.
Yep, I'm getting to the link now. This is absurd. What in the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah, so this was to increase visibility. So the windshield was a cylinder of glass about 1 foot tall and 4 feet in circumference.
But but hold on. I just want to what do you mean by the windshield? Because there's a windshield that is by the motherfucker's torso where you can't see, and then there's a windshield up top where this idiot's fucking head is hanging. What?
Where is the engine?
The engine's in the front pod part.
How does it connect to?
Is it front wheel drive?
No, I think it's rear wheel drive. It just has a U-joint right in the middle there.
Okay, and so why is the air intake above the driver's head?
Well, that's for the passengers, for the cabin air or whatever.
Wait, how concerned was he about suffocating the passengers?
I don't know. But one thing I thought was cool is instead of having wiper blades that move across the windshield, that entire cylinder of glass would rotate around him, and then it had stationary wipers on the edges.
Okay, hold on. This is a fucking Rube Goldberg ass fucking car. What the fuck? What?
Yeah, that's definitely coming up with the least practical solution to a problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The least practical solution to not a problem.
Also, I like this diagram on the front of this link. The air-filled rubber bumpers.
Yeah, it's got rubber bumpers all the way around like a bumper car.
Like a bumper car. Oh my god.
It had seat belts, of course, a roll cage, which that
I'm all for roll cages.
I said before, that term gets thrown around a lot during this time period. It's not like a something that would fit the rule book of a modern racing series. It's just
it basically wasn't a convertible.
Yeah, it had some metal bars up there somewhere.
Also, I like this idea. This the 2-section body minimizes impact of collisions, but I would go ahead and say that chances are the point at where it connects the two together is probably going to get absolutely fucked, and it might go into the passenger compartment.
Oh, maybe that's why he's sitting 4 feet off the fucking ground, so that it goes under him and only breaks his shins. What I'm learning is that safety cars are anti-shin.
I mean, wow. This is This is bizarre. This is certainly something.
Yeah, it also had sliding doors, which was a big thing. I don't know how this was supposed to be safer, but a lot of these safety cars around this time period had sliding doors or gullwing doors.
I could speculate on that, actually.
Okay, I'd love to know, because where's the problem with those? Yeah.
In the 30s and 40s, there like the latches were bad, and it was like a known thing that like if you got hit the wrong way, the door could pop open. And honestly, I think truly that this was resolved by the end of like the Model A era, but I'm not sure.
No, Ralph Nader talked about that. So it was a thing still in the 60s. That
okay,
that
well, so
cars would, yeah,
like the term suicide doors, that originates because if the door popped open, because it opens backwards, if you tried to grab it, it would pull you out.
Yeah.
And because you wouldn't be able to like pull it shut, it would pull you out of the car. Like a lot of weird solutions to like. So I mean, I don't know why a gull-wing door or a sliding door would be better, but you know they're just spitballing.
Yeah. So
Also, hold on. I'm gonna keep riffing here. I think it is fucking crazy that the last car that we were talking about was called the ugliest car ever, and this one gets a fucking pass.
I mean, no, this
Truly
was
outrageous.
This was also on the list. You know, that's kind of how I found it. Is one of those
Okay.
lists of ugliest cars. So
Okay, that's fair. One more thing. It does feel like if you've ever seen like, and this is a trend more in the last few years, but like, people will get like a car that like usually doesn't tow shit, but then they'll like get like the back half of the same car and they'll like turn that into a trailer that they tow, and it's really cute. That's what this car looks like.
I've talked about doing that with vans numerous times on this show.
Yes. So this car itself looks kind of like that. Like it's got the front piece and then it like looks like it's towing the passenger compartment, which I guess it kind of is actually, but so it's kind of funny that it's kind of like that actually.
Yeah.
I really want to see the engine layout of this thing.
So he intended to produce about 10 to 12 cars a year, and he figured he could sell them for $10,000 each, which is over 100,000 today in today's dollars.
That seems like a low price for somebody who plans on making 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Also, that is like if your goal is to save people, why is your goal to save 10 or 12 people a year?
Well, because what class are those people from who can afford this?
Yeah.
Just saying, that's what I'm learning.
Is tasteless a class?
So it was featured in Life magazine as well as Mechanics Illustrated, Motor Trend, and it was even at the 1959 Foreign and Sports Car Show in Boston.
Well, of course, that's down the fucking street from where it was made. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But it never garnered the funding needed to actually manufacture it at full scale.
Yeah, looking at this thing, I can understand why.
Yeah. So the last known owner is a company called Bellingham Auto Sales in Massachusetts. So the prototype is still there as far as I know, but that's the only one ever made. So there was some stuff going on in the 1960s for safety cars, but I couldn't find too much. So Pininfarina, the Italian design company, they came out with two different prototypes for safety cars. They were pretty different, but they were both called the Sigma. So the 1963 version.
Now I keep getting confused.
Were they highly misogynistic or what? What was the thing?
Damn it. Obviously, that was the joke I was going to make too.
I beat Brandon to a fucking joke.
So the 1963 version was a two-door passenger car designed by Tom Tiarda, I think is how you pronounce that. And it also had sliding doors and a padded steering wheel. I couldn't see any more real safety features on that, but it was marketed as being safe at least. The 1969 version was actually an F1 race car designed by Paolo Martin. And he had the cooperation of Ferrari, Fiat, and Mercedes in making this. And it was based off of a Ferrari F1 car.
This thing's fucking sexy. This car is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So it was based off the Ferrari 312. It weighed only 1,300 pounds and made 436 horsepower.
Wait,
what
what?
the fuck? This thing was amazing. I'm
How is this
pro
a safety
car.
car?
Well, it was safer than the typical F1 cars of the era, which were death traps. So this had, the aluminum monocoque frame from the Ferrari, and then it had a reinforced driver survival cell. So kind of like how modern F1 cars have a reinforced area around the driver. It had
Yeah, I feel like their idea of a driver safety cell very different than what they have today.
Yeah, I mean, this looks a little bit more like a modern F1 car versus the Ferrari that it was based off of, which was just sort of the like slim sort of cigar shaped body with wheels on each corner, and not any. I don't think it had much aero on the Ferrari version, but so this one had a 7-point safety harness, which I'm familiar with a 5-point safety harness. I'm not sure what 7-point means.
It's 2 extra. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
What was this last car I was looking at? This one that the cars that never made it?
Yeah, that was the 63 version that was a passenger car.
That thing is
So,
awesome.
I mean, they have nothing to do with each other, but they're both called the Sigma, and they're both designed by.
Oh, yeah, they look totally different. But also, this other one, this open wheel one, holy shit. Why couldn't we have this? See, this is the world that Ralph Nader wanted. Ralph Nader was like, we need cars that are safer and fucking amazing. This is the world we could have lived in, but we didn't get this. Instead, oh my God, this is amazing.
Well,
Dude,
in
the
F1,
open wheel F1 one is so fucking sick.
yeah.
What the fuck? See, people are like, "Oh, safety is bad." I'm like, "No, safety could have been fucking awesome. We could have all been going to work in like F1 level fucking cars, but no, capitalism said we can't have that." Unbelievable.
Well, in F1, it was mostly, I think, Jackie Stewart that was pushing for more safety, because a lot of drivers were dying in the 50s and 60s in crashes.
And sometimes even pedestrians.
Oh yeah, a lot of yeah. I think Well, There's Your Problem did a episode about what was it?
When they did the
Grand Prix.
I don't know the year, but they had a car that was built primarily out of magnesium.
Yeah, and it killed a few people. But yeah, so Jackie Stewart was pushing for this, and I think the FIA came back and told him, "Well, why don't you just drive slower?" So
yeah, the FIA. After now that I've gotten into Formula One, it turns out the FIA is just really fucking incompetent. Seemingly in every instance, you're like, "How is this your decision?" What? So it's good to know that they've always been super incompetent.
Yep. But so anyway, this car had a multi-layer plastic fuel tanks, which I think is kind of a precursor to modern like fuel cells. It had a built-in fire extinguisher system.
Oh hell yeah!
A rear wing that doubled as rollover protection.
Sweet.
And then side pods that extended around the wheels to keep the wheels from running into things and hanging up.
Nice. That's fucking awesome.
I genuinely love this car.
Yeah, this is amazing. This thing is super cool.
So this was 1969, and most of these features weren't adopted until like the 80s, I think.
Yeah, this thing's ahead of its time. This is a fucking amazing car. Like, I cannot understate or overstate how amazing this thing looks. And
Dude,
probably
the picture where it shows if you're listening, fucking find this link and look this car up. It is so cool. The way that they have the intake and exhaust flipped for the way you would normally see it on a V configure, like that wasn't wildly uncommon back then. But man, those headers are just fucking gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
it's so incredible. Yeah, what do they call this? Reverse flow or whatever?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Amazing. And that engine, it even has the intake ports in between the cams. It's a weird arrangement. Yeah. But what was I going to say? Okay, so getting onto the actual safety vehicle program, In 1970, the National Highway Safety Bureau announced its experimental safety vehicle program. And this was basically a way to give federal funding to car companies to develop prototype safety vehicles to, explore the idea of different technologies and how they could make cars safer. The idea was that these features or inventions or what have you would make their way into production cars by around 1980.
Yeah.
So some of the goals or requirements of the program were to keep passengers alive in a 50 mile per hour head-on collision with a solid obstacle, withstand rear impacts of 75 miles an hour, side impacts at 30 miles an hour, and be able to survive 2 complete rollovers at around 65 miles an hour. So it's pretty ambitious, even for like a modern car. And to keep them from being like too heavy, they had like multiple weight classes, but they also required that it stop from 60 miles an hour in 155 feet. And it had to be able to execute a 180 degree turn at 70 miles an hour without rolling over. So do like a, what do you call it? Like a J turn or whatever.
I mean,
Honestly, if you pack all of that into a car that doesn't look like shit, it sounds sick.
Well, the problem is they all kind of looked like shit. Or at least most of them did.
look, I got to say, though, the way to, like, if you're like, oh, well, you want to be able to make a 180 degree turn at 70 miles an hour, the way to do that is to lower the fucking car and just, like, make it not a skyscraper, which just makes it look cooler by consequence. It's like, but yeah, some of these are definitely difficult to do. I guess going from 60 to 0 and 155 feet by today's standards, I think that would be pretty slow, but like better braking, like
Well, like,
all
but that's a performance thing too, though, man.
Yes,
That was
that's
like
what
one
I'm
of
saying.
Carroll Shelby's things.
That's like what I'm saying is like all the safety shit. I'm like, well, they just were like, hey, we should make like regular cars act like race cars in certain respects, and we didn't get that.
So
I think you're being a little optimistic about what we potentially could have gotten out of some of these experiments, but I do see what you're saying.
I mean, perhaps, but I'm imagining a world in which we all could have gotten fucking race cars and it would have been safer and better.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are generally cool, but a lot of them are ugly.
Yeah, that's because those motherfuckers just don't have no vision.
I'm just over here like thinking like what it would have been like when I turned 16, and they're like, "All right, here's an F1 car." I'm like, sick. I am so safe right now.
Well, they weren't all F1 cars. In fact, that was pretty much the only one. But like basically every car manufacturer that you've heard of made a prototype for this, and also some companies that weren't car manufacturers. Like
random fucking Catholic priest guy.
Well, also the aircraft company.
Don't complain about him. He stayed so busy building cars he wasn't able to molest any children.
Ooh, it's bad. Oh God.
Yeah.
What? That was a big problem with those people.
What was a big problem? Anyway, where was I?
You're talking about Catholic priests and their problem with
No. We're talking about safety vehicles, damn it.
Cars and comrades off the fucking rails again.
Yeah. So there was
nothing. Just nothing.
Okay. Yeah, so aircraft manufacturer Fairchild, they made like fighter planes and stuff. They made a safety vehicle. And then the Boeing company AMF, which I forget if it
Excuse
was.
me? What?
Yeah,
did I stop? Hold on. Was I not paying attention or something? What?
Yeah, I think.
No, it's okay. They owned Harley Davidson.
Yeah, they owned Harley Davidson. They made mopeds. They made all kinds of weird shit around in the 70s.
You're joking? I mean, no. What?
Yeah.
The bowling company owned Harley Davidson?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were owned from 70 until like 82.
Yeah, they did other manufacturing stuff too. I forget what all they did. Because I don't
understand. People really believe in the capitalist system. They really believe in it. And then you tell me a bowling company owned Harley Davidson and was going to make a car. Like,
dude, that's why, like, it's one of the reasons Harley's reputation was so bad for a long time was because they were owned by a bowling company that didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah. Well, it stands for American Machine and Foundry, and it's also the inventor of the first automated cigarette manufacturing machine. So
doing God's work.
Yeah. I think they
I don't
also
want to
own
talk about
bakeries.
cigarette machines too much. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been drinking a little bit, and it kind of makes me want a cigarette, and I quit. So,
all right.
I've been having cravings lately. It's been rough, man. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I'm just like, yeah, I want a cigarette, and I'm like, I quit though. I should not have that.
I only smoke when I'm on fire. So every now and then.
Yeah, which is every now and then for you. Yeah.
All right. So moving on to Fiat, they produced a few different safety car concepts in the 70s.
For those people that don't know, that stands for Fix It Again, Tony.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they tried in 3 different weight classes, the 1500, 2000, and 2500.
Damn, so those were weight classes back then, huh?
Yeah,
Shit.
those
All
were the
right.
weight. There was also a 4,000 pound weight class in the ESV program, but Fiat didn't make anything that heavy. So the 1500, it used running gear and engine and everything from a Fiat 500, and then body panels from an 850 and a 126, but with a custom, strengthened frame and everything. It had really big bumpers front and back made out of made of black polyurethane foam, with the lights and the grille sort of recessed in the middle. And then on the inside, it had like a padded dashboard. But they didn't fit to the 1,500 pound limit. They went 252 pounds over.
Really? This car seems real fucking small. I don't know how the hell they were not within that.
Well, it's still
what?
Still only 1,750 pounds. That's pretty light.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty light.
And then the 2,000 pound car was based on the 128 sedan. It had the same big foam bumpers, but this time they wrapped all the way around the car, on the doors and the sides and everything. And it also ended up overweight at 2,563 pounds.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This first one looks pretty decent. I'm with it. This is cool.
Yeah, and this
It's
one
ugly, but like it had potential. It was cool.
This one you'll have to scroll down a little bit, but you can see it's a little bit beat up because they tested it in crashes and stuff.
Oh, now this next one, wow. Am I seeing the right car?
You might have to scroll down. It's the like yellow and black one.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's get to that. Yellow and
it's
black.
like a 4-door sedan.
Oh, okay.
Weirdly like
this
it.
thing looks. Yeah, this looks dope. I like this.
Yeah, it was basically just a Fiat 128, but with a little bit different stuff added onto it.
My big complaint is that I would have to remove the front seats and sit in the back to drive it.
Yeah.
What is this? Okay, this Fiat X123. Oof, that is a car. That is a.
Oh, is that the little red
unrelated...
one?
The what?
The little red one?
Yeah, the little red one that looks like they purposely made like a caricature of a car. That one's ugly. But
if you read on in that, they made an electric version that had like 13 horsepower.
I mean, that actually kind of is. Look, I'm all for like little proletarian vehicles that are good for that would be good for a lot of places. This yellow and black one, kind of cool though. I dig it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to spend too much time on these because I didn't actually find that much information. But Nissan and Toyota both made some safety cars. So here's the Nissan one.
Let's see the Nissan one. I'm a Nissan fan. I'm going to go ahead and say it was awesome.
216X concept.
Before even looking at it, I'm going to say it was fucking awesome.
It was probably the best looking
Damn,
of
look at
this
the
bunch.
fucking pictures. Oh my god. Look, what a fucking solid guess. This thing is amazing. I don't
Yeah.
need to know shit about it. This car, look at this thing. Holy fuck. It looks like a 300 ZX. Unbelievable.
This was
Are we looking at the same car?
the
I don't know,
71 Nissan 216X concept.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see what you're seeing.
This thing's amazing. What are you talking
I don't
about?
hate on it, but it doesn't look like any other Nissan I've ever seen. This looks like something out of like Logan's Run or like some other like 70s sci-fi movie.
I can absolutely see there is some influence here on the later Z32 300ZX. Like the taillights look not the same, but like it's got a similar sort of like taillight situation, that long hood with the driver sitting back closer to the rear wheels. This looks dope.
This has a rear-facing periscope.
Yeah, so that was a feature that came in a few of these safety cars. I don't quite understand it, but the idea was to get better like field of view in the rear.
So instead of a fucking rear view mirror, you look through a periscope?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I love it. Oh my god, this is amazing. What?
So it was a 2-liter 4-cylinder mid-engine, and it had bumpers that would automatically extend 6 inches outward while it was in motion.
Oh my god. I love this.
Like I said, I couldn't find out much more than that. I think it was
there's like a short little blurb and a couple pictures, but this thing's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh man. See, look at what a good guess. I bet I was like, Nissan, this one's gonna be good, and it was amazing.
It's definitely the most stylish of the 1970s ESV cars.
Just knowing what we could have fucking had.
Yeah.
I'm so mad. We could have had safe cars that were fucking incredible.
Yeah. Now, the Toyota one was not quite as good looking, but it was cool in its own way. Basically, they took like a 4-door sedan and turned it into like a little 2-seater thing so that it would have more crumple zones.
I like where that's headed. Yeah, I like where this is going.
And they had some pretty high-tech features in this, like 4-wheel anti-lock disc brakes, airbags. It had airbags that were activated by radar sensors.
What?
Automatic safety belts, which a lot of these prototypes had, like what later became standard in the 80s, where you had the seat belt that would go on its little track.
Oh hell yeah! Also amazing. This shit is so cool.
Yeah.
These experimental cars, like, I really thought they were going to be all fucking uggos and totally shitty, but these are actually pretty decent.
I mean, they got giant bumpers and everything, but
yeah, cool. I'm good with that. Big bumpers.
Dude, so wait, which one are we looking at? The ESV2?
Yeah. So they had...
It kind of has a weird quality of looking like a squished down like G-body from the 80s.
Yeah, kind of.
Yes.
Or like
I kind of like it, yeah.
What was that little like 2-seater Buick that they made in the 80s? Like Riata or something?
Oh, I don't know.
It
reminds me a little bit of that.
It does look like a squished down G-body. It really does. This is, oh my god. I was not expecting to like so many of these cars. I was like going to be like, oh, they're all so silly, but like actually a lot of these are super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference seems to be when one person spends all of the other people's money, they create an abomination. But when you have an actual engineering department, they create something that you could live through a crash in, but is also kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, I support pretty much all of these cars except for a couple of the goofy ones that I may have already made fun of. But
yeah. So the Toyota, it also had an energy absorbing steering column, electronic stability control in 1972, and a silicone rubber bumper in the front mounted on shock absorbers. So some of these features, I'm guessing not all of them, were incorporated into the 73 Toyota Corona, which
that name didn't age well.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny that like a lot of Toyota cars are named after crowns. So like there's the Toyota Crown that they sold in in Japan, and then there's the Corona is Spanish for crown, and I think I want to
I
say
mean, Toyota is Japanese for crown.
is it really?
No, I just made that up.
Okay.
I
thought it was
probably
just some
for a
guy's
second,
name.
though. It was.
Okay.
Although, also, by the way, fun fact: CEOs in a lot of like Japanese country, in Japan will like change their name to like the company names. Like a lot of the CEOs of Toyota have like changed their name to Toyota.
Yeah, it's like some weird thing where like the previous CEO will adopt the upcoming CEO, so
Yeah,
they're all in the Toyota family, but they're not really.
Yeah, interesting. Just little stupid fun fact, but
Yeah. Let's see. So the next one up is made by Volvo, and it's probably the most high tech and safe one of this bunch.
I'm
This
also
is
going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say it's probably the ugliest, right?
It's kind of cool looking. I mean, it basically just looks like a 240 with bigger bumpers on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the technology that they developed for this went into the 240 or the 200 series.
Okay, this isn't too bad. That front end looks decent.
Yeah, so this was a 72 Volvo VESC concept. And so it not only had the collapsible steering column, it had a spring-loaded steering column that would retract into the dashboard in a crash. It had front and rear airbags.
Interesting.
The engine mounts were designed to push the engine underneath the car in a crash.
Well, now how the hell would they do that?
So they were like on pivots or something, and so like a certain part of the mount would break off.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then it would like swing down and push it.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, it would suck if you got into a crash, like a little fender bender, and all of a sudden your engine breaks out, but like...
Well, no, I mean, this is like any kind of crash that's going to be, squishing your engine against the firewall. That kind of...
okay,
crash.
yeah, so when your shit's fucked up anyway, it's going to not put the engine into your shins.
Exactly.
So this is the first pro shin safety car. Wow. All right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Again, it had a reinforced safety cage, which is basically they just welded some more metal around the top of it.
I honestly think that like that's what we've been missing all this fucking time. So much would have been like consumer cars should just had roll cages. In them. Like I cannot get it past. I'm like we really should have just had fucking roll cages all this fucking time.
Yeah. I mean, they also spent a lot of time on the latches, the door latches, to make it so they wouldn't pop open in a crash.
And honestly, if you had a roll cage, you wouldn't even need to worry about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe a little bit, but like they have done so much safety engineering and shit. And honest to God, it's like y'all have spent fucking billions of dollars to figure out how to make a car safe without a fucking roll cage. And it's like, I don't know, maybe y'all can spend the like $2,000 to add the roll cage to the cars. Just, I mean, that would be so much better.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, yeah, seatbelts and airbags too, but like, they could have saved a lot of fucking engineering time if they had just been like, gee, let's put a little fucking tubular frame around the car.
Right.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like, that seems like they spent a lot of money to avoid doing that.
It can be hard to... I think the move would actually be to integrate the like A pillars and B pillars and all of that into like a more like tubular like structural design with the roof, because to actually just add a frame, it's hard to make it look good.
No, yeah. I think that's more what I mean. Instead of just like adding a frame to it, like just like make that beef that up and make the unibody like part like incorporate a tubular frame section to it.
Well, and I think modern cars are pretty well made in that regard. Like they have high strength steel in the passenger area to make sort of like a safety cell that, they don't use actual like DOM tubing that's like cut and welded together. They just have high strength steel pressed sheet metal that's welded in a certain shape that sort of approximates the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't studied it in that much depth.
But like back in the day, we could have been like, it may not have looked super great in the interior, but like we could have probably just like attached a fucking roll cage that like followed the contours of the car precisely, if you engineered it ahead of time, probably would have saved a lot of people.
Right. Some more features that the Volvo car had. It had like washers and wipers for the headlights as well as the rear window.
So that's where it began.
Yeah.
Okay, that can't possibly make an actual difference.
There are a lot of like mid 2000s Volvos that have that. I don't know. Like, I feel like it maybe does. I feel like we assume it doesn't because no other cars do it, but really, it's like, I don't know. If you think about like how water distorts light and stuff, you can have a shitload of water on your fucking headlight, like little droplets and stuff. And yeah, I could see it. I could see it making a difference. Maybe a small difference, but
Yeah, it's kind of like how when you go swimming in the middle of the day and suddenly like you're just submerged in blackness.
all right. Brandon does not.
See, I can see how it wouldn't make a difference.
Fair. Okay. You might. Okay. You might be right.
Let's see. It also had the bumpers were designed to absorb an impact up to 10 miles an hour, which was, the standard for crash safety, like in the late 70s, I think was 5 miles an hour. So this was, double that.
I feel like they really were not thinking ahead with those standards. Like, that just seems like silly. You're almost like, look, if you're going to make it safe for 5 miles an hour, why even bother? Like, what's the point?
It had anti-lock brakes, automatic ride height control. So it was like self-leveling.
Dope. That's cool.
Automatic fuel supply cutoff. So if there was a crash, it would turn off the fuel pressure.
Oh, cool.
Sweet. That's
had
cool.
a backup warning beeper, like on a truck,
That's annoying. That's
annoying as hell. No, I don't like that.
And it had a rear view camera in 1972.
Fuck yeah, that's amazing. That is super cool. I'm on board for that. The beeping, no, but camera in the back, awesome.
Yeah.
Wow,
it was also.
Hold on. It took us until 2012 to mandate that. So from 1973. So what's that? 30 plus. Okay, I've been drinking a little bit. That's 40 or 45 years. I can't do the full math, but I can get close.
So it was also the test bed for the new fuel injected engine that they put in the 1974 production car, and it passed emissions no problem. It was I think the first computerized fuel injected engine, in a mass production car.
Interesting. So that was Volvo?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think they also had the first catalytic converter and exhaust gas recirculation.
Huh. Okay. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Volvo gets some credit for that.
So this one is probably the ugliest, and it was made by MG. No surprise, the British are making ugly stuff. This was the SSV1 in 1972, based off of an MGB GT, sort of the hardtop hatchback version of the MGB. It had the old rear view periscope, but not as elegant as the
okay.
the
Look,
Nissan.
that's the they got the periscope looking like the periscope you would expect. It's fucking ugly. However, this is overall the car is not that ugly, except for that unsightly fucking periscope.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it looks like just a regular MG, and it's kind of cool looking. So
I mean,
called this the ugliest when we're comparing it to the car that like has two fucking sections and is like a goddamn bumper car.
Yeah,
not even
I would
close.
say this is the ugliest of the factory proposals.
Fair. Okay, I'll give you that.
I mean, the giant rubber bumpers that it had kind of made it onto the production version also, and a lot of people really hate those.
Yeah, they are ugly. They are real ugly.
Yeah, and people will switch them out for the Euro bumpers or whatever. So it had airbags, anti-lock brakes, self-leveling suspension, impact-absorbing side panels. The rear view periscope was supposed to give the driver 120 degrees field of vision.
Okay,
And
that's
then
decent.
it also had an early device that was meant to prevent drunk driving, and it had like a little puzzle game built into the dashboard, kind of like that game Simon, where it would like do a pattern of beeps and lights and stuff, and you had to match it. And if you messed up, then it wouldn't start the car for like an hour.
Oh no!
And then you had to try again.
Oh no! I feel like
So-
I could envision myself trying to do that sober, going to work and fucking that
Yeah.
up, and like that would piss me off pretty bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, boss. I'm gonna be late. My finger slipped while I was starting my car.
And then this one I kind of liked, the Volkswagen ESVW1. This was one of the last cars that they designed with the rear-mounted air-cooled engine before they went over to the Golf with the front-wheel drive water-cooled engine. And it's like a four-door sedan with a trunk in the rear and a trunk in the front. And so it had, plenty big crumple zones. And then it had early form of stability control, seat belt tensioners. It actually had seat belts that went across your knees, which I'm not really sure if that was necessary.
Yeah, that seems like it's not really helping anything.
Yeah.
It's just a subtle nod at the Germans' affinity for bondage.
And then the seats were bolted down, and then like the steering wheel and pedals and everything would move. And I guess they just figured that it would
okay.
be easier to make the safety systems around a fixed seat rather than let it move.
I guess maybe.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical of that being comfortable, but okay.
Yeah.
You
They
barely
just have
notice
this-
because of the way your knees are strapped in.
Wait, so how did you? Yeah, like, so you put your foot up against the clutch and the brake pedal and fucking accelerator, but then like, as soon as you move your legs away, like, wouldn't the belt not make any sense anymore?
I think it was supposed to like automatically deploy in a crash or something. Like it wasn't on your knees all the time.
Oh, okay.
But it's like
It's gonna
I'm
be
just
like
going
a
off of
Spider-Man
like
kind of thing. And
I
like,
was
just
going to
shoot.
make the Spider-Man joke too. God damn it!
Oh, I'm on a roll today.
You are. You're killing it.
Interesting. Okay, I'm skeptical of this working, but good
Yeah.
shot. German engineering.
I mean, that didn't make it into production, in case you hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
So that first program kind of wound down, and then in 1975, the NHTSA started a new program where they awarded contracts to just two companies. One of them I couldn't find out much information about, but one of the contracts was to the Mini Cars Corporation. And this was just a startup to design safety cars. It wasn't any bigger company. And so they designed at first a small 4-passenger car with safety and efficiency in mind. So it had the engine and transmission from a Honda Accord, but in the rear as a mid-mounted
Wait,
engine.
what year is this? Did the Honda
This was
Accord exist?
1975.
Wow. Okay.
So I think that might have been one of the first years for the Accord, which, was a much smaller car back then. It was, like the size of a Honda Fit now.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of Accord's a fucking whale these days, but
Dude, a friend of mine up until very recently drove a... Oh, it wasn't an Accord. It was a Corolla. But he drove like an early 80s Corolla. And it was just shocking how small it was.
Yeah. Were those the rear
hold on.
drive ones?
Was it one? One of the rear drive ones?
It was front-wheel drive.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
There was some weird. Yeah, the old Corollas from the '80s are iconic drift cars.
Right. Yeah, there was a time when Toyota was making two different cars called the Corolla, and one was front drive and one was rear drive in the 80s.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm second guessing myself now. Maybe it wasn't a Corolla. I don't know, but
It might have been. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very possible that it was. I mean,
okay.
It could have also been a Corolla Tercel, which, the first Tercel was like a trim level Corolla or something.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually. I
Yeah.
really did not know that.
Their naming conventions in the 80s were a little weird.
Yeah, they sure were.
But anyways, back to the mini car. It had a sort of custom composite body, and they like filled it full of expanding foam to absorb impacts. And then they had run flat tires, anti-lock brakes with crash sensing radar, dual stage
Hell yeah.
airbags, and it was designed to allow passengers to walk away from a 50-mile-per-hour crash, while you could also get 32 miles per gallon with it.
God damn, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm
and
into this.
it had gull-wing doors.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, naturally. Awesome.
Yeah. And actually, here, let me put some links in the chat. This first one, I don't think it has any pictures that actually load anymore because it's an old Jalopnik article and they fucked up their web hosting when they went bankrupt. But I've got a couple PDFs here too from NHTSA and Auto Safety Research. Yeah, so this didn't really... It was just a program with the NHTSA, so it didn't get picked up by a bigger car company, but they really wanted it to, so they actually had a big ad campaign. They had, I forget his name, one of the actors from Battlestar Galactica do the voiceover for it. And the slogan was, "The safest automobile ever created. There's one slight catch. You can't buy it." And so they told viewers to write in and say, like, hey, we want this car, to sort of gauge response. And at least 10,000 people did write in.
The car is the RSV, right?
Yes, RSV mini car.
This thing looks awesome. I can't believe it was only 10,000 people writing in.
I love it even more than I hate it.
Yeah.
It again looks like something from like a sci-fi TV show, but it's kind of sick.
Yeah, okay, you know what? It almost looks like a Honda CRX with more windows and a longer hood.
Yeah.
And gull-wing doors.
And gull-wing doors.
And some people have said the rear end looks kind of like a AMC Pacer a little bit.
Yeah, I do hate the rear end, but when I say I love it even more than I hate it, I mean like the rest of the car kind of makes up for its weird ass.
Yeah.
This is I love it. Again, in holding with my opinions of most of these cars, they're fucking cool.
Yeah. They also made like a boring looking sedan version of it that was just like like a regular ass Ford sedan that they
fuck
put all
that
these
car.
features.
This one, we want the cool one.
Yeah. So that's why I'm talking about this one. So they were working on a new design for 1981 until the Reagan administration came in and killed the program.
God damn it! That son of a bitch. Of course it was Reagan. Oh my god. I hate that. I hate him anyway. But like, oh, here's more pictures of it. Unbelievable. This thing's amazing. What the fuck, man? Of course, Ronald Reagan would kill a cool ass fucking car like this.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This thing is so fucking cool.
So that was the end of that program. There were other car companies making safety vehicles. Most of them just look like boring ass normal cars with bigger bumpers or whatever. So
these wacky ones actually were fucking cool, though.
Yeah.
Well, so the ones that were actually genuinely safe are super
I picked
cool.
the wackiest ones rather than the one that looks just like a normal Mercedes sedan.
Naturally. Yo, this is cool as hell, though. Yeah. I want one. I absolutely want one. Can they make this as a fucking kit car now?
Well, there's, I think, 2 of the prototypes are still left that didn't get scrapped. So you can, contact the guy that built them and he'll sell you one for a lot of money.
Yeah, millions. I can't afford it. But like, damn. So, all right, looking at the interior, my biggest complaint is the seats are super like thin and probably very lightweight. To be safer, this is all about safety. I do think they should have had like race car like bucket seats. Would have been cooler. Would have been very cool. Would have been very safe, and also probably weigh just as much. But super awesome. I love this thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I actually like the style of the seats. I just think they like the color scheme I'm looking at is not doing it for me. But the dash, oh my god! If there is a weak point for me, it is the dash.
Where's the? Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
that is a wild looking dash, and not in a way that I find good.
That's fair.
Why is the steering column ribbed?
Yeah. And there might be some pictures of the the regular sedan version in there somewhere. But it, like I said, it just looks like a normal sedan from the 70s. But yeah, that's all I've got today. I think next time we'll have sort of a biography of Ralph Nader and some of the more activist stuff that he got up into in the 70s and 80s and 90s. But yeah, anything else? Any final thoughts before we wrap up, guys? Anything?
I think like one of the big takeaways from this whole fucking series is that we were robbed of some really cool fucking cars that were a lot safer than what was offered for sale. The market fucking failed big time. And the government regulations, like the government failed too. But like a lot of these cars were super cool. And I think I went into this series thinking like, oh, we're going to clown on a bunch of like goofy ass looking cars that were super lame.
Same.
And I found out that actually a lot of these cars would have been really cool. And like a lot of the safety stuff is like, oh, actually we're discovering that we'd like cars to like brake way faster and also be lower to the ground. And like, we should shrink them down so they look cool. And it's like, what the fuck? What? But the car companies did the opposite of that. And I'm just like, we could have had the coolest looking and way better performing cars. And like, that was what would have made them safer. And so like, there's clearly like this idea, which in America, I feel like we just all believe like, oh, government regulation is bad. And like, oh, safety means boring and stuff. And actually every one of these cars was wildly cooler than what we fucking got. Yeah. And I'm mad that like, that's the reality.
I'm still over here just ogling pictures of this F1 car.
It's so gorgeous.
That thing is beautiful. I'm sitting here thinking, like, could I feasibly build this?
Everyone, like, well, not everyone, but like a lot of these cars are so amazing. Like, we really missed out on, and a lot of people, and here's the nasty part: a lot of people fucking died because the car companies did not want to do this, and like, how fucked up is that? We could have had something cooler, better, faster, better performing in every way. And instead, the car companies were like, you know what? What if we made uglier cars that killed people instead? That's capitalism, baby.
I mean, in all fairness, the market could have spoken and bought the $150,000 Priest car.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
That like meme where it's like, the world if
yes.
John Hinckley didn't miss or whatever. It's like
it's that
the world if what's his name, Father so and so got some orders for his weird ass car.
Y'all, this incredibly weirdly named F1 car that I like, Farina Manini, the Sigma. What is it?
Pininfarina.
Is that how you pronounce it? Pininfarina. Dude, I literally just every time there's a lull and I'm not speaking, I'm probably staring at this car. It's so simple, cool. But it's the wing that really brings it together for me.
Yeah, really ties the room together. All right, well, I think we got to wrap up here. Brandon, you got somewhere to be, and I guess follow us on our social media. Anything else I'm forgetting, Connor?
Rate and review our podcast. That would be super cool. We appreciate any reviews we get, and it does help other people find the podcast. So if you could find it in your hearts this Thanksgiving to give us a good review or whatever excuse I need to get you to give us a review, we would appreciate it.
Yeah. Or just, call us liberals or whatever.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of modern liberals. All right, everybody. Take care.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
We don't think you fight fire with fire fists, we think you fight fire with water fists. We gonna fight racism, not with racism, but we gonna fight with solidarity. We said we're not gonna fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism.
Amazingly, or not so amazingly, Cuba's crime rate is one of the lowest in the entire hemispheres. Oddly enough, it seems that when people have their basic human needs met, they're less likely to commit crimes.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
The free market mythology, it argues that the most ruthless, selfish, opportunistic, greedy, calculating plunderers, applying the most heartless measures in cold-blooded pursuit of corporate interest and wealth accumulation, will produce the best results for all of us. Through something called the invisible hand.
What are you smiling about?
Dude, I almost had you.